Okay, initially I was just going to record this video as a client training to discuss the consistency of their nutrition data tracking or the nutrition logs. However, I thought I might as well just record it a bit more of like a YouTube format and just throw it up on my YouTube so people can kind of see this client training that I'm filming. So it won't be too long. Now, obviously, we're going to be talking about the power of consistency in nutrition data tracking. Now, this is incredibly important for a number of reasons. Obviously, we want to improve our nutrition, to improve our performance in the gym, get better results, improve our cognitive performance at work, and generally feel better and look better. Those are all the overarching reasons, right? Now, why tracking matters. So, as we've all heard before, what gets measured gets managed. Tracking nutrition data is not about perfection per se. It's about awareness and behavior change. Now, those are the two key areas we want to be focusing on when tracking nutrition. Consistent logging helps identify trends, gaps, and patterns invisible to day-to-day habits, but also things that happen when you might be stressed or just not paying attention to how you're eating over a longer period of time. Over time, small adjustments compound into big performance and physique results. So how does consistency drive optimization? We are able to refine and optimize by consistently logging. You gather accurate feedback loops, identify underfueling or micronutrient gaps, adjust protein, carb, and fat balance. So looking at how we're partitioning those macronutrients, notice emotional or stress-related eating patterns, align intake with training loads and recovery needs, or whatever specific goal we have at that time, whether that be fat loss, maintenance, or if you want to eat in a surplus for weight gain, muscle gain, or strength increase and performance, right? Or if you're trying to body recomp. We have all of that data we can refine and optimize. Without that data, you're just shooting in the dark, right? And of course, the key area is highlighting gaps and barriers. We can spot weekends or travel days when nutrition slips, which is generally fine in the overarching scheme of things. We can detect behaviors linked to low energy cravings or poor sleep, but we can also identify why you're not getting the results you want, right? This also helps to build self-awareness and accountability. So looking at the behavioral framework, what tracking data allows us to achieve is number one, capability. Tracking increases knowledge and self-monitoring skills. Most people are really poor at this. And when you give them this tool or this task to implement on a daily basis, they really struggle with the capability. And that is the first important piece of the puzzle, increasing that capability. Then we have opportunity. This brings visibility and structure to daily nutrition choices. Then we can develop motivation. This reinforces progress by showing tangible data and trends, or the opposite, highlighting where you are lacking behind and what you need to work on to improve your capability. And obviously, tracking your data opens up the opportunity to do this. And what we're looking for, an outcome, is a sustainable habit formation and long-term health optimization. Now, if we look at this in a priority scale, if we don't have this foundation consistency, we're not going to get the results. This foundation consistency involves daily data logging, honest, simple tracking, and the foundation for improvement. Once we have that foundation for improvement, which is consistency, then we can move to refine and optimize. We can look at data-driven adjustments, we can identify gaps, fine-tune intake, build nutritional self-awareness. And then ultimately, we want results. And from that, from the preceding layers, we get enhanced energy, improved body composition, improved performance, and sustainable nutrition habits, right? This is the same framework and coaching principles I apply to all my clients, and want to take Edmund as an example because he's had some ups and downs with his nutrition and the results we're trying to get. But once we've really honed it in and really put our foot on the gas, he dropped 13 kg. down from 92 to 79 kg, looking much leaner, in much better shape. And over this period of time, because we were refining and optimizing, he's actually got stronger. His strength has stayed at a good level. His movements have refined, and he hasn't actually got weaker by dropping all of this weight. Now, if we want to highlight what this looks like in real time, right? So this is Edmund's logs for this week. Noticeably, he's been traveling a little bit for work, so there's some gaps in the data, but overall, his data is always on point. Notably, he's in an aggressive deficit at the moment, and he gets a refeed on the weekends. But what we're looking at is consistency in what he's eating across each day, very similar meals. We want all of his supplementations logged in, and then we start to create a picture of what his performance looks like in terms of his nutrition intake. We can highlight gaps, looking at all of these metrics, but we need this foundation. We need this consistency coming in every day, and we need this regularity to actually refine and optimize. If we're not getting this data coming in regularly, then it's impossible to actually refine and get the results. Now, I want to swing to another end of the scale. I'm going to use Anya's data points and logs. As you can see, she's incredibly consistent. There's like no days missed where she hasn't logged. Now, not all of these days are perfect, but she has logged for building that consistency, that foundation. Now, Anya is in a maintenance, so she's eating 2,000 calories per day. She's at target 160 grams of protein. She's at 190 for the carbs and 75 for the fats. So for her, she has a lot of wiggle room with how much food she can eat. However, we are still looking at her supplementation for optimization to pick up those gaps. Any micronutrient or nutrient values that we need to pick up, we pick that up with the supplementation. And then we're looking at the foundation of what she's eating across each day. We're looking at the quality of each meal. We're looking at the partitioning of all of these macronutrients. Now, Anya's logs are excellent. All right, this is what we want to see across the board. And that allows us to refine, but also once we have that consistent layer, we can kind of just let her do her thing, because I don't have to stress to her about being consistent. Now we can focus on these top two parts. Once we have that consistency and the behavioral habits in place, we can focus on the next stage, which is more talking about strategy, and then understanding how that nutrition is affecting how she feels, listening to her communications and her feedback, but also reviewing her or cross-referencing her nutrition with her recovery and her training. Now, that is really important. If we start to see that her training is progressing and improving, then we can kind of stay where we are with our nutrition and give her more time. However, if we're not improving as much as we'd like, we can make an adjustment, and then that can feed into her improving her performance in her training, which drives results in terms of her muscle gain, being leaner, getting stronger. Okay, so if you're a client,